Cliffs, mountains, waterfalls, caves. Jurassic World Evolution has a new set of tools that we can use to build better dinosaur exhibits. So it's time to get creative and see what we can all come up with. In this video, I'll be showing you 10 new ways that I've found to make the best dinosaur exhibits. Hello everyone, welcome to the Evolution Square. I'm Evo, I'll be your host for today. I've done 2 videos in the past on how to make enclosures in Jurassic World Evolution without the use of mods. This time I want to show you tips and tricks for using the improved tools, courtesy of the modding community, to provide you with a little bit of inspiration. In 10 mini speed builds, I'll take you through the steps for creating the enclosures that I've come up with. Every exhibit showcases a certain habitat design element that you can mix and match however you like. You could use all 10 tips in one exhibit if you so please. All the mods I've used for this video will be linked down below. These are necessary for the tips to work. Only this particular terrain paint mod is optional. You can stick with the default terrain paints or choose a different terrain mod, although I will show you one cool thing with this one in particular. Let me know in a comment down below which tip is your favorite and share your own tips if you have any. Leave a like on the video if my tips were helpful, and if you're looking for more Jurassic World Evolution inspiration, subscribe to the channel. Now, of course I'm going to save the best tips for last. I'm telling a story here, okay? We have to build up to the finale. The first tip is a quick but essential one, since we'll be needing it for a lot of the other tips down the list. The new terrain tools by Harlequinz Eg0 is probably the best mod we have so far, alongside the expanded islands mod by the Toho Society. The only problem is that the AI doesn't recognize steep terrain as a barrier, which leads to situations like this. This looks pretty stupid. We don't want to see this. Actually, maybe we do. It is kind of funny. Anyway, we don't want to see this in our beautiful parks is what I mean. Preventing this is really easy, namely by using the invisible fence mod by Zarp10. Line all of the steep terrain in your exhibit with a regular fence at first so you can better see what you are doing, and then replace that with the invisible fence. I've wanted to use moats in the game since the start, because all of the fences obstruct the guest's view of the enclosures. And I know there's no such thing in the game as actual visibility on path, but I'm going to pretend that there is, okay? Because it's stupid that there isn't. With the enhanced terrain mod, you can easily use a moat as the perimeter to an exhibit along with the invisible fence. For digging the moat, I recommend lowering with the water brush tool, flattening the bottom just enough to get water in there, and then use the water brush as that creates a slightly steeper cliff. What I like to do is place the path first and line it with low fence like a railing. Then I get the moat as close to the railing as possible without causing the railing to dip. This low fence is from the Better Fences mod by Mr. Troodon, by the way. I can no longer live without this mod because we need a low fence in the game. Another way to make a moat is to create 2 parallel stretches of fence close together, put gates on the fence as close together as they can, and then lower the ground in between the 2. This creates the sharpest and most narrow moat that you can make. Top tip, leave these gates standing while you add rocks, trees and feeders to the enclosure, as these items flatten the terrain in a much larger radius than you probably expect, and it ends up smoothing out your moat a bit. Basically, build your exhibit and then get rid of the gates and do whatever needs to be done. Pro tip, on every map there are certain angles on which you can create a perfectly straight and smooth cliffside. Set rotation to rotation in increments instead of smooth, place down some gates at different angles and then lower around it to find the right angle. Then you do the same thing as before, place fences, add as many gates as you can, and then lower in between. For a finishing touch and to make this look like a proper concrete moat, use path. My favorite for this is the Jurassic Park fancy path. You know I love a good fancy path. The same way you create a moat, you can create a bridge. Sort of. Kind of in the reverse. And still it's not perfect, but it's the best we can do, and I think it looks really nice. When you're walking on the bridge, you can't tell that it's solid earth underneath anyway. I just think it looks nice. Using a modded wooden path further helps. You could make the exhibit fully sunken down, but I like smoothing the terrain back up on the side so that the bridge really stands out and it doesn't just feel like two sunken enclosures next to each other. Also, a little extra tip is to create a body of water underneath quote-unquote the bridge that seems to be in a continuous shape. This adds to the illusion, at least from the top down, that there is actually space under the bridge. That there's actually water under the bridge. Similarly to how you create a moat or a bridge, you can also make a viewing platform. This is the last tip that is a bit the same to the others. We have some much more inventive stuff coming up, don't worry, but I wanted to highlight all the options we have. For the platform, I like using the round shape of the brush to my advantage. Just lower the terrain, flatten, and create a straight cliff. And then with the flattened brush in a larger size, start from the higher side of the cliff and carefully pull it out. This easily creates a perfect semicircle. With path, you can create some flair on the platform to really make it stand out. When you design your exhibit, keep in mind that you want it to look the best from the point of view from the platform. Treat it like you would a viewing gallery and make sure that you have a nice line of sight into the habitat, as this is also how it would be designed in an actual zoo. Okay, time for something different. Something really different. I'm not even sure if I like it, because it's so different, but then again, it is so different that I felt I had to share it with you for the sake of variation. And not at all because I wanted this list to be an even 10 and I couldn't scrap the idea when it didn't come out as intended. With the enhanced terrain tools, you can create really sharp peaks, but to get the sharpest peaks with the most narrow base possible, you have to get a little bit inventive. I raised the terrain first and then placed a couple of lights and signs. I couldn't place as many as I wanted because the game is still really annoying with the unable to flatten nonsense, but whatever. Note, by the way, that there's an even higher plateau next to it, where I'll create a viewpoint for the guests so they can also look down into what will be a stone forest. Inspired by, well, stone forests. By the way, this might turn out better on Penna or Sorna 1993, where you have shale, or if you have a terrain paint mod with a more grey rock texture. Next step is to lower the terrain back down. The lights and signs are fixed in place and the results are really narrow columns. To add to it and provide different shapes, I use the flatten tool to create more sharp points and ridges. On one end of the stone forest, I place water and a viewing gallery, and to ensure that the dinosaurs actually walk through the stone forest, I put the feeder on the other side. You could also place a viewing gallery on this end as well and decorate this part to look better, so guests can look into both parts. Or you can just leave it at that and call it a backstage area because it's 1 AM and you're tired. Flatten a path through the stone forest for your dinosaurs to walk through and use the invisible fence to stop them from walking on the steep terrain. Add rock texture to the stone forest for obvious reasons and put in some trees to break it up a little bit. Design the front and back of the exhibit as you see fit. Let me know what you think about this one. A really simple tip to use the Mixed Eras mod to your advantage within an enclosure is to use the Jurassic Park gate and the tour itself as a fun design element within an exhibit. And you do this by simply placing a viewing gallery right by it. I think it's fun for guests in the viewing gallery to watch the cars drive by and watch a car get casually flipped by a dinosaur. I'd find that pretty entertaining. Tip number 7. Yeah, seriously, that was the tip. Put a gate in front of the viewing gallery. Use a steep rock wall instead of fencing to enclose your dinosaur exhibits. Of course, in combination with the Invisible Fences mod. You can do it in a straight line or any shape you want, but a really fun and easy way I found is to use the massive round size of the brush to do the work for you. Choose the largest brush size. Jeez, oh, that's a struggle. Choose the largest I can't say. Choose the largest brush size and the raise tool. Raise to the height you want your walls to be, and then flatten to create a tall plateau. Then sink the brush down a couple of sizes and lower the terrain back down. You could leave the circle closed entirely and create little openings in the wall, and I actually quickly hopped into the game to show you what I mean. Or you can lower about a third of it and then place a viewing gallery there. Come on, hop out, make your noise. Center yourself and focus on the jump. Focus. Focus. waterfall. Well done. That was a beautiful jump. He seems to be doing a little bit better. It's still up and down. It's still stressful, but yeah, I'd say he's doing a little bit better. I really love using the tree brush on the steep edges. It really breaks up the rock wall, which is necessary, in my opinion at least, and it creates a cool effect, like a vertical garden. You could also use the shrubbery brush for this. Alright, now we're finally getting to the meat and potatoes. We're getting to thumbnail level quality enclosure ideas, alright? It's about to get serious. We can finally have waterfalls in our parks. Oh my god! Hallelujah! Another thing that has been on my wish list since forever. Now obviously I'm being a little cheeky here. I chose my words very carefully. We can have waterfalls in our parks. We can't add them, but we can have them. Because some maps come with waterfalls that were previously outside of the buildable area, but thanks to the expanded islands mod by the Toho Society, we can include them in our parks. It's a situation of, if the mountain won't come to Mohammed, Mohammed will go to the mountain. I've already seen lots of people make use of the beach areas that are now within our reach, but I haven't seen anybody use the waterfalls yet. That's probably because the best waterfalls are on Matanceros, and that island is probably one of the most underrated, so probably a lot of people just haven't realized it yet, what that island has to offer. Personally, I really love it, even though I always dread using it in videos because I can't, for the life of me, pronounce the name properly. And I'm not gonna do it again. Rewind it if you have to. I'm not gonna do it again. Once per video is enough. I incorporated a waterfall in my Spinosaurus enclosure. Now, the water at the bottom of the waterfall is fake. It's useless. Your dinosaurs can't drink from it. So I added a river and I hit the scene with the tree brush tool. Of course, I made sure that the viewing attractions have a good view of the waterfall, and you can design the exhibit around it as you wish. This map has multiple waterfalls, so you can do this trick a couple of times over. Soarin' in 1993 also has waterfalls, but they're not as nice as these. I'm not sure if any of the other maps have waterfalls. If they do, please let us all know in the comments so we can make good use of them. But of course, I can't mention using elements beyond the normal boundary of the map without also touching on the possibilities provided by the seawater on Muerta and Sanctuary. These have clear, deep water, whereas for the other islands, the surrounding ocean is opaque. We don't have a real mosasaurus in the game, regrettably, but we do have a mod for it. So if you want to have a mosasaurus in your park, I recommend finding a nice spot on the map to turn into a lagoon and enclose it with a rock wall so it doesn't seem like the mosa can just swim away. Again, use the invisible fence to ensure that the mosasaurus actually stays in its lagoon. If you want to see the full speed build of this lagoon, let me know in a comment. I have 2 tips for the rocks to spruce up your exhibits. First, with the regular rocks, I recommend you dig around them a little bit so you can actually turn it into larger rock formations. The default rocks have quite a bit hidden underneath the surface that you can expose. I also really like doing this at the edge of a sharp cliff. Now, of course, that little tip is just an excuse to be able to delve into what I really want to say, and that relies on the specific terrain mod by DANNYBOB. This mod replaces one of the rocks with a really stretched out rock that extends far beyond the hitbox. What that means is that you can overlap them a little bit and then dig under the parts that don't have a hitbox, and this is how you can create a cave for your dinosaurs. Due to the straight edge at the bottom, oh, and the fact that they are hollow inside and you can see through them if you're under them, it's not perfect. But it is by far the closest we've come to being able to add caves to our parks, so I really like it. When I add a cave, I always make sure that guests can see the mouth of the cave, but not look straight into it, so they theoretically can see that it's not very deep. It's one of those small and simple ideas that really add to your exhibits. Alright, here we are. An idea I'm so chuffed with, I gave it 2 slots in the thumbnail. Unless the video underperformed and I exchanged the thumbnail after the fact in hopes of reviving the video. If you've made it this far and you don't want to let this video fail, please leave a like on the video. I'd be so grateful if you could help me out and help me spread this video to more people so they can hopefully be inspired by these tips as well. The 10th tip is taking my monorail roof idea to the next level. I've used it to create malls and massive indoor enclosures, but I've never used it to create a shelter within an exhibit, so you have an indoor-outdoor habitat in one. But I'll probably be doing this in about every single enclosure from now on because I really, really like it. The tracks create the roof of the shelter, and with the terrain tools you can create steep rock walls around it so it's completely closed off. When you do this, you do have to go around the ends of the track. If you raise the terrain directly under the ends, the entire track comes up and you don't want that. But you can hide those open ends with the tree brush and add some mountainous terrain branching off of the shelter so it blends better. And then, just like that, you have an indoor part to your enclosure, which is something you see in a lot of actual zoos. I put a viewing gallery in there as well as feeders to ensure the dinosaurs come into the shelter. Because of the default height of the track, I used sauropods for this exhibit, but I quickly figured out I could make this shelter as low as I wanted. You see, for anything other than a sauropod, the default height of the track is a little much, and then it's an unnecessarily tall thing to include in your exhibit. But you can raise the terrain directly under the pillars without changing the height of the tracks. Again, you just have to leave the area directly under the ends of the track low. Doing this makes it much more logical as a shelter for other herbivores or big carnivores. I love this so much. You will be seeing a lot more of this in future park builds. I can't wait to share new parks with you. I just feel creatively unleashed. I would have always loved Jurassic World Evolution, even if mods never became a thing, just like I'll always love regular chocolate. But with mods, it's like salted caramel chocolate. It's flipping delicious. So a well-deserved huge shout out and thank you to the modders for adding more flavor to this game. The mods I used are linked down below, check them out. I also want to give channel moderator Leviathan a shout out as he posted a step-by-step process of creating a beautiful dinosaur exhibit using the mods on the Jurassic World Evolution subreddit, and when I saw it, it clicked in my head that I had to make this video as a follow-up to the unmodded exciting exhibit tips. And honestly, this is how we get the ball rolling for creating the best possible parks and having the most fun with the game by inspiring each other. So I hope this video inspired you so you can take it to the next level. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the game.